Welcome back, everyone. It is June 3rd, 2026. It's Wednesday. It's about 10 a.m. Eastern time. And it's time to jump into these charts again. It's been a hot minute. All right, let's roll. So first off, last we left off, I believe we were somewhere over here. Okay, and let's just see real quick. Let's zoom in and really kind of like take a look at this, where we are. So last we left off, we were over in this section right over here. I believe the chart was actually just hitting this section, and I explained that I was in a short from up above. I was actually, I believe it was like somewhere around this yellow line, something like that. And I was anticipating that we were going to drop pretty hard for a couple of different reasons, which I could show you. Well, honestly, we are headed down to this red line. Maybe we are going to test this red line. And this is probably around, you know what, no, let's not say probably. Let's just drop a line in here so that we can actually see where it is. It's about 72K. But now we have taken this really extreme drop down. This was quite a dip. I mean, wow, right? So what does this mean exactly? So let's take a look and really kind of dive into a couple things that I'm seeing. First of all, let me zoom out a little bit more so we can take a look at kind of like the overall picture of things. And let's just take a look at this right here. So this was the range that we were stuck in for quite some time. Okay? This is the range. I don't know why I click on that button, but anyway, let me just sketch this out real quick. So this dotted line right over here is about the 50% line. And you could see that when we came back into the range, being this section right over here, when we came back into the range, we actually dropped down pretty far underneath it. That means we are now at the bottom of the range. This is the bottom of the range from where we were before. Okay, now that is really, really telling at this point. So because we took a big drop, what I'm anticipating is some kind of relief. I mean, this move right here, look, you could see this was a range that it formed, and then it took a huge dive down. This was a range that we were stuck in right over here, and notice that it moved down and created another range. It could be that we create some kind of small range over here, just like so, and then kind of like work our way again, maybe down. But I wouldn't be surprised if we have a little bit of a bounce over here. So that's what I'm kind of anticipating. But overall, the scope of what I see really is that I think we're going further down. Okay. Now, one of the things that I mentioned before was that in here, I lined it out. You can go to my previous videos so you can see this area right over here is the bear market. This from this line right over here to this line over here. Now we came out and we broke this trend line that was coming down right over here. And I was saying in the last video, I don't really believe this move. And turns out this looks like a fake out at this point. But I want you to pay attention to what you're seeing here. We are now back under this trend line. We came under this trend line. So if we were to come over here like so, then I honestly think we're going to dip down one more time. That's what I think. And before I was showing the ribbons that were there. So let me turn on the ribbons so we can kind of like refresh ourselves as to what I'm talking about. Here is the ribbons. Come on, just decorating all this thing here. Okay. So here are the ribbons on the 5-day. And you can see that we did have a little bit of a fake out, which means to me that we got a little bit more downplay. Because when the chart has a fake out, right, where it bumps up, it continues going down, and then it'll come back and revisit that line. So this line will be revisited some way, somehow, sometime, right? But could it be possible that it comes and bounces on this white line first? I don't know. But I'm anticipating that this white line is going to be hit some way, somehow, in some time. And if we do exactly what the previous did in the bear market here, see, over here, see, we got halfway, but see, eventually we came and we hit this line, right? If we come down, expect that it is going to overshoot just a little bit. And this to me is the buy zone. I mean, like full on, machine gun every altcoin there is possible. We are looking at here. Let's see where we are. Let's turn on the price label right there. There we go. About 55K. That's what I'm anticipating. Not right now, but I am anticipating that it come down to this. And I've been saying this for quite some time. Now, the only reason why I feel that way is because we have failed this red line at this point. We failed it. We are now underneath it. So if we do come back up and we touch it, then that's going to be telling. If we get a rejection, or we get a rejection from this trend line over here, then yeah, then I think we're coming back down here for sure. Okay? Now, the real question, I guess, is do we come down here first and then work our way back up? Or do we play around in this section for a little bit and then work our way back down? Okay, the last option in if-then scenario is we come over here and we skyrocket at this point. I'm prepared for all of it. Just so you know, I mentioned before that around 72, I was going to buy in again. And yeah, it passed my 72. It actually dipped a lot harder. And I believe that yesterday I actually made my DCA purchase into some of the coins that I was looking at and starting to carry a bag. Now, if it does drop lower, I also have a bag put aside for that. I did not let off everything in that one shot. Okay, that's important. Just because I DCA'd in doesn't mean that I emptied my bag. I have time to build and I plan on buying again because I think when we hit this white line, even if we dip below, this is going to be temporary. And I think it's going to skyrocket at that point and we start the bull market at that point. So what I'm anticipating is this is the bull market zone. When we get over to this time frame here, which I believe is September, I think this is going to be the time that things are going to start to shift the other way. In the meantime, it's got full play. It can do whatever the hell it wants to do. Okay, but that's what I'm thinking. Now, let's take a look at some other things real quick. Now, let me jump over to here real quick. I want to show you because I made sure that I wanted to be pretty transparent with my stuff here. First of all, on the 5-day, you can see exactly what I was talking about as far as that gap goes. This traveled up and it left a lot of basically unbalanced area. At this point, this move back down is at this point again, right over here. We are now balanced from that move that we've been doing this whole time with news. It was all news related, right? And if we start to move up just a little bit, I'd be looking at this 50% line for possibly another short. I don't know, And like I mentioned before, I am in a short, and I'll show you, actually, I got my card here. So you can see, this was my short. I've taken a lot of profit at this point from the short that I was at. You can see that, where I actually got in. And, this is the continuation from the last video that I made. Now, nothing's changed since the last video I made. I mean, I just don't want to keep on repeating myself to you guys because it just doesn't go anywhere. But take a look at Ethereum right now. Like, if we were to look, this is where we started. Look at this. Look at where we are right now. In fact, this should be a big kind of like, we are at the low of the range again. Should I buy? So I've longed Ethereum and I've taken profit at this point. And I will continue to start to build, a bigger long as we go down. And I anticipate that we will go down. But right now, I think there might be a little bit of some breath that's going to happen. So I will take advantage of that and make sure that I, take profit and close out and make sure that I'm doing whatever. So I'm hedging the market at this point. Okay. There are a couple of other things that I wanted to go over real quick. So here we are, just kind of like, you can see where we bounced, kind of what's happening. Let me get rid of these ribbons. Okay. That's kind of where we are. If we find any strength, great. Like here is the block that we need to stay above, right over here. We need to stay above this because of this little cluster right over here. If it dips down any further, then most likely I will close out my long, right? I already took profit. I'm pretty satisfied with my profit right now. But what I am looking at in this is, again, like, let me just shift some things here. If you look, we were in this channel coming down for Ethereum. I'm considering this manipulation. And if we find some strength over here, then maybe we will come back over to this side right over there. So that's what I'm looking for. And again, what my real target is this 50% line, right? So if we can come up and, kind of like find some strength, pop over here, then that will be my short area that I'd be looking for. and or maybe I just hold out. I'm not really sure. If it does come over here, this would be my second area of like, is this the short area? You could see that this is a small range that was formed. So if it came back and tried to touch that, I almost see like reactions happening on both zones. But it doesn't have to go up at this point, okay? So I'll plan for it to go down. If it goes down, I will close my long out, right? And I will look to long when it gets a little bit lower, maybe even over here. I'm not really sure at this point exactly how it's going to play out, but I'm going to let the charts kind of speak to me at this point. There are a couple other things I wanted to go over. First of all, let's take a look over at AMC. Yeah, wow, this actually worked. Last we left off over here, I was over here, and I actually did buy in when I made my video. I did buy in. I am in profit at this point, and you know, yeah, I've taken profit over here. I bought at the bottom. I told you guys when I bought, gave you guys all of that insight. This stretch over here was 100% gain. I rebought in right over here, and now, yeah, I'm in profit. I actually, I might take a little bit, or I'm looking to add on to this, right? But if it comes over here, I think this is kind of where I would add on to it, if anything. So that's that. Let's go take a look over at GameStop. So GameStop, again, you know, I mentioned in the last video that I bought where the arrow was, and I was underwater, and I was okay with that because I was looking to DCA in, and I'm still looking to DCA in over here. Right now, there was some kind of news that made this pop up, you know, so everything's still, you know, on track for GameStop for sure. But here's the thing that I want to kind of mention, okay? Let me turn this off for a second. This looks crazy. Look at this. Let's compare this move to this move right over here. Do you notice how this kind of like bounces up and down? Notice how this one just kind of almost straight lines up. Yeah, we're kind of in a danger zone. Honestly, I really feel like that. Whatever is moving this chart the way that it's moving, this chart's 100% unbalanced. And yeah, I do expect, I don't know, let it pop up again. I don't really care how much it pops up. What I care about is when it does start retracing back down, what is going to happen? And at this point, what I'm noticing altogether is that crypto versus the stock market feel completely disconnected, right? Like, look at that straight line up and look at this almost straight line down, okay? So I am feeling as though if the stock market does change direction, it could be possible that investments are going to start to run into these charts, and then we're going to see kind of an inverse reaction to the stock market dropping down. That's just me speculating at this point, but if everything kind of plays out the way that it's been doing all of this time, I mean, I don't really believe that these charts don't go where they're supposed to be. I think they speed up and slow down as they're supposed to go. And if this really is the last of the bear market, maybe this is when the stock market will turn around. Maybe that is actually when the bubble is going to start to shift. And at this point, that's when Bitcoin and crypto is going to have its rally back up. So that's kind of like, it's in my mind at this point because the charts are looking that way. Honestly, I mean, it's starting to feel like that. And this line right here is supposedly the end of the bear market, according to all of the other bear markets that we had. Okay, this is not arbitrage like arbitrary. I measured out every single one of these, and every single one of these are the same exact kind of time frame. They're a little bit off by a week or two, but they're pretty on point, you know. So bear market, bear market, bear market, bear market, while the stock market is skyrocketing. So when the stock market decides to start coming down like this, maybe it will shift. And we'll get disconnected again, which we already are. Anyway, some food for thought. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to, to leave a message down below. Share this information. I mean, at this point, I've really shared a lot of what my plans are, and I've been taking action to them. And, I hope you've been finding them helpful because there's money to be made in this area. So you can see where my target is right over here. This is my target. This would be my first target. If we come over here, then maybe we'll bounce a little bit. I'm not sure. But I am really looking for it to come down here. This is kind of where that zone is, right? And when it does come over here, I will be buying hard wherever the altcoin market is and, the Bitcoin market is, So anyway. All right, guys. Talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.